Alright, so we're going to paint some weights on this. We're basically just going to block in the weights. I'm not going to spend too much time in this video refining them. I might do a little bit of just tweaking here and there, but I don't want to make, an hour-long video just because I'm getting too obsessive with the weights. So what I'll do is I will go and just kind of rough them out real quick if I can. I'll go to the Paint Weights tool, and I'm definitely going to turn on my color ramp because I know I like to use that a lot better. And I'll just start blocking stuff in. One thing that you might want to do if you prefer it, you can go ahead and block in, or just flood the weights from the start and start from scratch. Is definitely an option in this case, but I'm trying to think on whether or not I want to do that. But first things first, I want my solid brush. I don't want to be using anything with feathering on it. So there's that. Everything else, I'll use replace 1 for now. Everything else seems to be okay, but yeah, I guess I'll start with this. It might help me out in the long run of things, but I'll go ahead and flood everything to the neck A joint, and I'll go from there. So, flood it, and from there I'll be taking away weight from that and adding it to other parts of the body. So I'll start with my lower jaw. And what I'll do is I'll go into my side view here, and replace 1. Okay. What I'm going to do is just start blocking in the weights very, very roughly. And I can use mirror weight for this once I'm done, but just going to try and block them in as easily as possible first, and then I'll go in and tweak. So I'm just going to use replace 1 at the beginning. I notice that his teeth are on, so I'm going to hide those in a minute, but I'm just going to try and block in some of it first. And then I'm going to throw some keyframes on that joint and tweak further. And that should be good for now. I'll mirror it over like I said. So get out of that tool. And I think my settings are fine in this actually, but edit smooth skin, mirror weights, YZ, positive, negative, and I like to use 1 to 1 for both of these. I generally get a better result. Let me just check. Close enough. I'm going to be tweaking this a lot, so this is fine for now. Okay? So, what I'll do first, grab that lower jaw, and now that I've added some weights to it, you'll see that it's moving it a little bit, but there's still some stuff that's hanging back that I'll have to fix. So what I'm going to do, first I'll reduce this, and I'm going to just set some basic keyframes on the rotation of this. So I'll just go from like 1 to 8 or something, and just have it rotate open. That should be enough right there. So that way I can just slide back and forth on this and see what's going on in terms of how the weights are going. But like I said, let me hide the teeth. I'm gonna take his mouth group and throw it on a layer and just set it to template. And eventually I'll have to do the same to the eyes, but it looks like for now I'm okay. So now you can see that his teeth just kind of hang there. I can even hide them for now, just so I can see the skin. Alright. Bring up my Paint Weights tool again. And I'm going to have to get in really close. Maybe even go inside of his mouth here. Oops, a little too far. My mouse just seems to want to go absolutely crazy today. There we go. Okay. So now I can just paint from the inside on his lower lip here. And again, I'm just using replace 1, but now you can see that his lower lip is coming with it, which is good. Okay. Getting there. A lot of stuff that it needs tweaking. I could spend a lot of time on this video, trust me. Oops, that I did a little boo-boo on. A little too much. Okay, so let me go back to frame 0, and I'm going to mirror it again. I'm just going to use the button on the shelf. And check it out. Perfect. say perfect, actually. It's close. Okay. Alright, I'm going to try smoothing this real quick. Okay. Okay, that's giving me a little bit better result inside of the mouth. So I can continue on this a little bit and keep refining. I know his neck is looking very rough right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to go and add some weight onto the actual neck joints, because right now the only thing that has control over the neck is that. That's why I wouldn't necessarily recommend just flooding it right away. You can keep some of the weights that Maya's done, because some of it will actually work. For instance, I know that the rest of the skull here is going to be the upper jaw. So, well, not the rest of it, but a lot of it. So I can go ahead and paint that onto the upper jaw joint. Make my brush a lot bigger and just kind of lock it all in. Okay. Now that line is going to need some work, I know that. Okay, and then we have that center line there that I'm going to kind of balance between both the upper and lower jaw. But first thing, I need to just make sure I get everything in here. All these little things that I missed. Again, just blocking it all in. Okay, looks like I have a majority of that half. So I can try mirror weights at this point. Yeah, looks like that worked actually pretty decently. Okay, so now back to his neck. I'm going to try and fix that caving in there. I'm going to go to, let's try neck C. And, no, actually what I'm going to do is use add at a really low value. I like to use 0.03, 0.01, whatever you want to use. And add some of this back. Go into my smooth preview real quick. A little bit better, a little bit at a time. Okay, go back to my lower jaw. Start to smooth this back out again and just do kind of that push and pull action that's pretty typical of painting weights. And you can see the right side looks like poo at the moment, but that's because I'm going to mirror it over eventually. That's looking okay. Okay, let me try the mirror. Not bad. Not bad at all. And I can go up here and add a little bit back to that lower jaw. In fact, I'm going to go to that edge loop in a little bit and add a lot more. But I'm just adding some skin sliding to different areas so you can see that the skin will slide with that. And it should really go up to here as well a little bit. Getting there. Not too shabby. And there's a lot more because obviously we have the root joint, and that's going to control part of the lower part. Actually, let's see what it has right now. Pretty close to what it should have. I believe next C should have more back here as well. We'll get to that later. You know, I go joint by joint and just kind of moving it around at its extreme poses, and we'll start just like I'm doing with the jaw. You know, you can check and see how it's deforming, and it looks like it might be caving in a little bit under here. Go back to the lower jaw. I'll just smooth this out just a little bit. Better. A little bit better every time. Okay. And if you want to see it without anything, so you can see it right there. That's how it's going to deform. It looks like we got some minor errors here, but I can fix that as I go in and refine the weights more. Now, in order to do some specific weighting here, what I'm going to do is we have that nice center line going to the corner of the mouth. What I'm going to do is just set replace to 0.5, and I'm going to start right there. So that's basically going to be controlled by both the upper and the lower jaw. So what I can do is just kind of go in here and set that to 0.5. And I'm going to have to get in really close here because it looks like it meets it a try maybe. Nope. It just gets really, really close. Getting there, getting there, getting there. I'm going to select that one little vert that's giving me a problem. Okay, same thing here and here. Just grab these real quick. Okay, and then we got this crazy guy right here. Okay. Alright, and I think I'm just going to smooth the inside back here a little bit. Looks nicer. Alright, so now between the upper and the lower jaw, because I just put 0.5 there, it's going to even it out very nicely. Looks like we've got some decent lines going through here. I'm noticing some more edge loops that may have been an issue in terms of the model, but not a big deal, I don't think. It looks like one vert, maybe. Looks like this one could be an issue. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Well, let's see what it looks like in the smooth preview. He's got a bit of a crease at the corner of his mouth, but it should be okay for the purposes of this video. Alright, so go back to that. I could probably work on that line on the inside, but what I want to do is now, you can see how the edge of his mouth is very boxy. So what I can do is basically a very similar method to what I just did. I put 0.5 on that center line, so what I can do is basically make it a little bit less on the next one and a little bit less on the next one. So this lower jaw edge loops will be controlled by the upper jaw. And I'm going to do the same thing up here where this edge loop right here would basically be controlled by the lower jaw as well. So it's going to give us a nice oval shape in the mouth as opposed to this square side that we have. So on the lower jaw now, what I'll do is if that's 0.5, I'm going to go to a lower value to I don't know, let's say 0.35. Let's try that, and I'll start this up on the next edge loop. So maybe here. Okay. And this is where you're going to have to be very deliberate in how you paint. Okay. So that's 0.35 for that line. Looks pretty good. And then I'll go to a lower value, maybe 0.1 for the next one. And just go like this to the next line. Okay. See? So now you can see how those edge loops, the lower jaw now has some control over the upper lip, and it's pulling down. So we're going to reverse that as well, where the upper lip will now have some control over the lower lip. So let me go back to that. I got the upper jaw up, and if I use 0.35 for this one, I'm going to use something fairly similar to the lower. Let's try something like just 0.3 maybe, and just see how it looks. And if I don't like it, I can adjust it pretty simply. So I'm painting on the upper jaw, or on the upper jaw bone, but I'm actually painting on vertices that constitute part of the lower jaw. So they're just sharing duties basically in this area. And it looks like we got a little bit of an issue there. Looks like that ends right there, so we should be fine with that. I think I'll use just a very small adding amount right here just to clean up in this area. But we'll smooth this later, so we should be okay. I think that'll smooth out just fine. Alright, so the next edge loop is right here. I'm going to go back to my upper jaw, set it to something like 0.1 again, and I'll paint on this edge loop. Okay. Looking pretty good. Oh, I'm set to add, I apologize. I'm going to go back to replace now. Okay. Maybe I do want add, but at a lower value here. Okay, and I'll just smooth this just a bit. Okay, nice, very nice. So now, if you look at it from the front view, you can see we have a much rounder shape. And I can even go to the next one if I really want to. I could use a very small value. I was using 0.1, so I can go maybe just 0.05 and just get it a little bit more round. Nice. See, that is much more natural looking right there. Okay. Good. Very nice. Pretty darn happy with how this is looking right now. Okay. So, having done that, you can see the difference between the right side and the left side. It's much better looking on the left side at this point. On his left, I should say. So, I'll just go back to there, mirror the weights, and bada bing, bada boom, you can see we now have mirrored it. And there's still some stuff that I can fix, you know, that little edge on his neck there. But what you're going to want to do now is I'll remove those keyframes from the lower jaw just by breaking the connections. And now I'm going to test the other parts. So if I rotate his upper jaw, you can see, yeah, there's some stuff I need to fix, obviously. So I would go in here now and paint some weights. And that looks mostly like stuff on the inside of his mouth that can be pretty easily fixed. Like there's one vert down here, or a couple, that are just acting very, very weird. So this is the kind of stuff that you'd go in and you start adding back some weight. And just go back and forth until everything looks nice and neat. And you can see the inside of his mouth is very bad at this point. So, sorry. Oops. Okay, upper jaw, good. just smoothing in there. Okay? But there's going to be quite a bit more that you got to do in here, especially in whatever's going on at that bottom. So I think I'm going to set some keyframes here. I'll go back to 0 and set a rotational keyframe. Rotate up. And now you can go back and forth at least, so you can hopefully figure out what the heck is going on in there. Looks like it's just down from here. There we go. There's some of them. So I'm going to have to do this one at a time, basically. And I'll just basically flood those back to the upper lip, because it looks like, yeah, those are inner ones. So go back here and replace. There we go. So quickly fixing some of this stuff. Grab that one. A little difficult to see what's going on in there. Looks like it's a lot of stuff. It could be all of this, actually. No, not that one. Same thing, though. There we go. So you can see that that's clearing up. Oh, that's the upper lid. I'm sorry. There. So getting it a little bit better, one vert at a time. Okay. Looks like I think these are the last ones that are sticking down there. So back up here, flood it, and yeah, it looks like I got a lot of it. It looks like there's just a mess of stuff in the corner of that mouth that I didn't even see before. So I can try smoothing this stuff. Let me select that. And see what I can do here just by smoothing. Okay. A little bit better. Okay, and I can see that there's a lot that needs to be done on the inside now. So, you go back in and you fix that stuff. And it looks like I'm causing some of this stuff, which is not uncommon. Because it just looks like there's a lot to be fixed on this. Alright, so we're getting there. It's a very slow process generally, but it's already looking better. You can see the difference between the left and the right side there. I have no idea what's popping out over there. It looks like that's part of the ear, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that when I was blocking in all the weights, I may have missed just a little bit, but that's an easy fix because I know that's part of the upper jaw as well. So I can probably just flood that. Yeah, that's definitely the ear. If I go back down, you can see it right there. Okay, so I can add that to the upper jaw real quick just by replacing with one and just very carefully painting here. Because there's other verts around. Okay. And one more. There we go. Alrighty. So that'll fix a lot of those little issues. Okay. Looking much better now. Yes, the eyes are still there. We'll fix that, don't worry. Okay. Mirror the weights. And getting there. There's obviously some stuff on the inside of the mouth that you want to go in and tweak. But if I look at the smooth mode, better. Getting better every time that we look at it. So I'll go and remove these keyframes as well on the upper jaw. And I'll go to another area. So break those. Let's try. Let me get my outliner up. Let's try next C, which I'm pretty sure there's going to be some stuff that needs to be fixed there. Actually, not horrible. Looks like just in the back of the head, which that's somewhat natural looking. As a bald guy, I know that's actually kind of close. You generally get that, depending on how big you are, you get that row of hot dogs in the back of your neck. So that's the kind of stuff, again, I'll set some keyframes. So there we go. And you don't want to just do one axis. Obviously, I've just been doing mostly rotating the X. But this is the kind of thing you'll want to rotate in all three axes sometimes just to check. So what I can do is I'm noticing it's stopping. Like this little row right here has absolutely no weight on it. So that will be neck C. So I will add some to that. In fact, I'm going to add some up here. Okay. Okay. Better. And I'll check the smooth preview mode. Much nicer back there. And you may want to work on the front just a bit as well. Looks good. Definitely looking decent right there. So I'll go back and I'll mirror the weights. And where's it? Next C, I'll remove my keyframes. And just rotate it around. You can see there's still some other stuff that needs to be fixed, obviously, because his neck is caving in somewhat bad, but that's something you can fix after this. But then you just check everything. That's not horrible. But again, just some little tweaks. We're not really going to concentrate on the eyes yet. They might have some random weights on them. That's okay. We can, you can fix that pretty much just by adding. You can see on the neck how it's rotating with the eye. The eye shouldn't have any weight at this point at all. It's just between me hitting undo a couple times here and there. That'll happen. But right now we're at a good position to basically stop this. You can continue to tweak. You should be tweaking still, as painting weights is probably one of the longest parts of this. You're going to want to continue and manipulate it some more. So I'll stop here. Keep working on your weights. In the next video, we'll start working on brow controls. So until then.